During the genocide of the Greek Christians of Asia Minor, a total of 347 clergy were martyred out of the total of 459 priests and deacons of the ecclesiastical provinces of Ephesus, Smyrna, Philadelphia, Heliopolis, Pergamum, Adramyttia, Moshonesia, Kydonia, among others. The Greek Orthodox Church has declared and designated the Sunday before the feast day of the exaltation of the Holy Cross as the day of commemoration of the hundreds of thousands of slain Christians in Asia Minor during the years 1918 to 1922. The Church has declared those slain as new martyrs, Neomartyrs. It grants significant attention to the Neomartyr Bishop Chrysostom of Smyrna together with particular mention of Gregorios of Kydonion, Ambrosius of Moschonesi, Procopius of Iconium and Efthymius of Zelon.
Omnios eos, Illa spiritus surites panacrante, excepes indubitu, illas effectis, tiam prosepignos, Deus utis Christotitos, Theotokon Japanes, homologum en celemones, hymnus mitrintis ut Tetraodeon.
Chrysostom of Smyrna. Unlike many of the Greek civic leaders who began clearing and fleeing the onslaught of the ravaging hordes, chose to stay in place like the martyrs of old. When the Archbishop of the Catholic Christian community, at the last hour, on the 25th of August, according to the old Julian calendar, secures him a place on a steamship and asks him to leave the doomed city to escape the wrath of the Turks, Chrysostom calmly replies, "It is the tradition of the Greek clergy as well as the duty of the Good Shepherd to remain with his flock." On the 27th of August, the first appearance of Turkish irregulars takes place in Smyrna. Terror is spreading in the city. Crowds flock to the bishop's church and edifice. Chrysostom, assisted by his brother Evgenios, does what he can to help. The next day there is a service in the church of Agia Fotini. His face is blanched and tired because of his fasting. But when he goes out from the altar he kneels and prays like a humble Levite. It will be his last service. Divine providence, he says, tests our faith and our courage and our patience at this time. But God does not abandon Christians. In storms appears the good sailor and in trials the good Christian. Pray and this cup will pass away. Be encouraged as before, good Christians. The service was over, when a constable informed him that the guard wanted him at the guardhouse. Serenely, Chrysostom bids farewell to the faithful, and departs with his cavassis caller, Thomas Vultio. Just before noon on Sunday, they took the bishop out of the guardhouse. "Here are your judges and your executioners," the guard colonel Saleh Zachem told him. And he handed him over to the raging mob that in the evening dawned there to await him. And the torture begins. The mob court made the decision, which was, to be crucified. To be crucified like their Christ.
Martyres tu Deo presvexate perimon. Alefimis amen piscitis Ionias toefos. Ton Chrysostomon pimenactis mirnis, eam prosionomum mosonisiam proedron, Leos Gidon bionde, ton Theophoron Grigorion. Martyres tu Deo presversate perimon. Sinas mismos in hierat archipimenaton silon, ton eftymionos potrim noreon, anim non gegarbis ton licas mon exeque, fervos Theonosias, pasit inflarim torumenos. Martyres tu Deo presversate perimon. Missalvum Theos Thefi, mine ortasom en potho, ton protopion talmoniconiu, animis Santa Pistos triadas homodimon, doxam Tetis Patrinos, Pisci Christus
Neomartyrs, the official appointed to administer the city of Smyrna, ordered Turkish Army Reserve Captain Rustan Bey Vasik to carry out the mob court decision. Vasik, descending the steps of the command hall with the three soon-to-be dead, Chrysostom and the regional mayors, does not have time to go out. Neomartyrs rushes to the capital staircase, maniacally draws his revolver and aims at Chrysostom. Such was his rage that his hand trembled, and instead of striking Chrysostom, he mortally wounded the deacon Klimenoglu. With the shooting and the exit of Chrysostom in the courtyard, the mob rushes in, and thus begins the martyrdom of the hierarch. Shortly before the end, one of the Turks, recognizing Chrysostom making the sign of the cross, became enraged and cut off both his hands. The road from the governor's square to the square of Iki Sesme, Turkomahala of Smyrna, was the Golgotha of the martyred hierarch. They took out his eyes with a bayonet, cut off his ears and tongue. They dragged him by the beard and hair. Around his body, the inhuman, unimaginably barbaric Turkish mob set up a horrible dance. They left nothing degrading that they would not do to his obliterated and half-killed body. Dragged thus, as far as Iki Sesme, Chrysostom was dismembered. From his body, there, the mob took a piece of Chrysostom's flesh for a bloody talisman. His head with his eyes gouged out, his ears and tongue cut off, with his chin torn out and black from the wood, dripping with blood, was put on his crutch, and the procession, enraged by insults and sarcasm, carried it around to the Turkomahalades. Other bishops who were martyred during the genocide of Greeks in Asia Minor were Procopius Metropolitan of Iconium, Gregorius Metropolitan of Kydonion, Ambrosius of Moschonice, Efthymios Metropolitan of Zelon. Other clergy martyrs included Meletios of the Church of Evangelistria, who was crucified on the trunk of a pine tree, and Hierodeacon Gregorios of Agia Anna in Cordelio, who was burned alive. Reverend Georgios Charistemartis from Agia Paraskevi Krinas, Sesme, an elderly clergyman, vicar of the Church of the Four Holy Martyrs, who was martyred by enraged irregulars who invaded the church during the celebration of the Divine Liturgy. He was found butchered at the altar with his skull split open. Gregorios, Metropolitan of Kydonia, was buried alive, and with him a multitude of clergy and laity from his region. To the feet of Ambrosios of Moschonice, they nailed horseshoes and dismembered him. 11 priests and 2 monks were killed with him. Efthymios, Bishop of Zelon, from Parakoila Colonus, was imprisoned, where he died after inhumanely cruel torture.
Martyres tu Theu presenza Dei verimon, exameni Theo tectim institut, evodiam tu logu che pragmatos dias trapin, gemnos ilaeis ardem dolambron, sim germana Gregorios, Ematos amen in rohi, diadem dolem dolon, et dolmo martyria, tindinam triam vexandes. Martyres tu Theo presenza Dei perimon, os in charismatum Theo teblon, in elada parteres ardevete, in meosti, vincindis Padre Theo pretos, in Polycarpo amate, oreos Christos homos observos, que Mathias omissis, sinestes eras foris, hiero martyres exameni. Martyres tu Theo presenza Dei verimon, riposant in civico et turino, ton paton hymnologos et misate divapori, martyres Titon et Silas Titon, Chaos Libiux elisma, vexaste Ephimion pericron, Cegarem Catanici, vimotine vodian, epipototine Onisusan. Doxa patrice Dio, che agio pragmati, che incerair, che istus eonas non amin. Torremnos per illes aston proton, ma forios urdosis panacrone, et on Adam, esres Theos, Theos intrifir, tim tuam irodisis in, ennam irorico agiasmo, Dios et Theotoke, et iam sotirias, homologum des megalinom.
Among the martyrs were Arcadios and Gabriel, the monks from the Everan monastery of Mount Athos. In Vutsa, the horrible martyrdoms of 3 prominent clergymen of the Church of Smyrna have also been recorded. Archimandrite Iakovos Arkatzikakis, whom the Turks tied to a pew of the Holy Church of St. John and, nailing with thin nails to his forehead a half-moon made of tin iron, left him to die of the horrible cruelty. Archimandrite Athanasios Nikolopoulos was cruelly tortured and killed. Reverend Michael Kyriakopoulos was stripped completely, his neck tied with a rope to his horse and galloped towards Cordelios. An American sailor guarding the oil depot of Standard Oil was so enraged that he shot and killed the Turkish officer, and freeing the unfortunate priest boarded an American ship and sent him to Athens. On September 15, 1922, Archimandrite Ioannis Evstratiu, professor of ecclesiastical history at the Holy Ecclesiastical School of Halki, was massacred in the genocide of the Christians from Moshoni Sea. On September 30, 1922, all the priests of the metropolis of Kydonia were massacred.